The first three events of the Marblelympics 2019 brought about photo finishes, controversial DNFs, and several new Marblelympics records in an event that hasn't been seen in 3 years. This is Professor CC19, Candy Crusher and Algodoo Marble creator, here with the very first of 4 episodes of the Marble Insider. This is my analysis and recap of some of the highlights of the events of the 2019 Marblelympics from Jelle's Marble Runs. Now, all the credit goes to him and all the incredible people who worked incredibly hard to make the high-quality videos for the Marblelympics. In this series, I'm going to be looking at the overall standings after we go through these events, analyzing the teams, their histories, and their performances, very similarly to how I do with the teams from the Algodolympics, to which Jelle is the inspiration, why I created that based on the Marblelympics. Either way, let's get started here. This video is going to cover the very first 3 events, which were the underwater race, the funnel race, and an event that hasn't been seen since the 2016 games, balancing. So the first video you can see here, this was the opening ceremony, the torch and the flame lighting. And this was by far the most elaborate and spectacular showing of any of the opening ceremonies so far. It was definitely the most modern. I left a comment in Jelle's qualification video for the 2019 Marblelympics saying that the modern version may not always be the best because block pushing, I wasn't necessarily a big fan of the new style, but in this case, this was absolutely stunning and spectacular. Before I really get into these events, I want to warn you, spoilers ahead. If you haven't seen the first 3 events, watch them before you watch this because there will definitely be a lot of spoilers ahead. So the opening ceremony, absolutely astounding, and right away we got into the very first event, which was the underwater race. Now this year there were only 2 rookie teams, Green Ducks and Indigo Stars, with the Green Ducks qualifying 4th, doing very well in the qualifiers. They were the only team to be automatically qualified after the 3rd qualification event. So going into these games, the Green Ducks were one of the fan favorites and definitely the most anticipated rookie team, similar to the Hazers last year, of doing very well. And so far they have been doing pretty good, nabbing a silver in their very first event. We're going to turn to a freeze frame here from the very first heat in the quarterfinals of the underwater race. And you can see just how close this is. Look at the photo finish here between Chocolatiers and Green Ducks. Now, it doesn't really matter with this race because the top 2 automatically advanced, but the Chocolatiers here won it by, I believe, 1/100th of a second. That's how close a lot of these races were in the underwater event. Here you see Chocolatiers winning, Green Ducks moving on to the semifinals. They would also proceed to the finals. Balls of Chaos and Oceanics. Once again, Oceanics finishing last place in a water event. They wound up finishing in the bottom half, not dead last, but in the bottom half, which was not a good start for the Oceanics. If I turn to the next freeze frame, you see the podium from the underwater race. Savage Speeders living up to their name, similar to how I say On the Ball does for the Raiders and the Algodolympics. Savage Speeders got off to a great start with 25 points. Green Ducks, their very first event, like I mentioned, getting 20. So a great start for the rookie team. And really out of nowhere, Chocolatiers, the bottom spot in the qualifiers, getting bronze in the very first event. Now, for the teams that weren't on the podium, Hazers made it to the finals, finishing in 4th. We also had Raspberry Racers, Thunderbolts, Team Galactic, and the Midnight Wisps in the top half of event number 1. On the other hand, the bottom half featured some teams which were pretty surprising. O'Rangers down in the bottom 3, only earning 2 points in event number 1. The Oceanics, of course, disappointment for them. Some teams, not much of a surprise, not doing too well, like Pinkies, Jungle Jumpers in the bottom 2 spots, in positions which they certainly have known before. But the first event, Savage Speeders really owned. They were quite successful and dominant in all 3 of their heats. So after event number 1, there were a few surprises, O'Rangers being in the bottom half. Then we moved to event number 2, which was the funnel spin or the funnel race. And right here, I captured one of the most controversial moments. The O'Rangers finished dead last because they did not finish right out of the starting gates. They got stuck. And I've zoomed in on this photo. You can see the other 7 marbles in this heat starting: Chocolatiers, Savage Speeders, Indigo Stars, Hazers, Team Galactic, Pinkies, and Balls of Chaos, all successfully moving on. And all the teams in Heat B did as well. But right out of the starting gates, the O'Rangers got hung up and did not finish. That wound up giving them no points in dead last. It was a big shock and a big disappointment to the O'Rangers fans, of which there are many, including myself. I was disappointed in the video, and it was right off the bat. So, fortunately, I do have other teams, and I want to thank the Raspberry Racers for doing so well in this event, because that's my mother's team, and it was worth having the O'Raiders fail just to watch the excitement on my mom's face as the Raspberry Racers set the event time record of 2 minutes 20.58 seconds in Heat B, and went on to win silver after going into the final funnel first. They survived long enough to get silver. And the gold medal team, once again, was the Savage Speeders, an event where they really didn't need to be speedy. They wanted to be the last one on the course, the slowest time to finish, but they masterfully executed. Once again, Savage Speeders, for the first time in the history of the Marblelympics, earned 2 gold in a row, a maximum 50 out of 50 possible points throughout events 1 and 2. As I said a minute ago, Raspberry Racers held on to the silver. Hazers got the bronze, their second top 4 finish in a row. And that put the top 4 as fairly distinct from everyone else. It was Savage Speeders, Raspberry Racers, Green Ducks, and Hazers were the top 4 teams, with the Green Ducks finishing in 7th in this event. On the other hand, some other disappointments: Oceanics once again down in the bottom half. Crazy Cat's Eyes, after doing so well in the qualifying for the funnel spin, wound up finishing down at 14th, which was a big disappointment for them. Other teams like Midnight Wisps down in the bottom half, Indigo Stars, the other rookie team, not doing too well. So the standings after event number 2 weren't necessarily surprising, with Savage Speeders and Hazers being on top. But it was definitely surprising having Oceanics and O'Rangers being the bottom 2 spots, with the O'Rangers only earning 2 points. So then we moved on to event number 3. This was an event we haven't seen since 2016. It was event number 1, the very first Marblelympics event ever, the balancing course. It was a little different this time. It was much more near the ground. There was not a great distance for the marbles to fall off. There wasn't as big of a run-up, plus the fact that marble finishing would only receive 130 points, as opposed to, in 2016, a finisher would receive 150 points. And boy, was this a dramatic event. As you can see right here, Crazy Cat's Eyes, I paused it right here in the clearest spot. Yellow Eye and Green Eye, both finishing the course. This is the first time ever that we've had 2 finishers in the balancing event. That earned them a total of 260 points, plus Red Eye and Blue Eye, who had fallen off a bit earlier, meant that the Crazy Cat's Eyes set a new Marblelympics record, beating the former record set by Rojo Rollers 3 years ago by 4 points. The new record was 351. But that was not all. Even before the event was over, we didn't even have to wait a year. We had to wait maybe another 7 runners to see another new Marblelympics record. Here you see 3 of the Thunderbolts making it at up to or past the 100 mark in the balancing event. One of them finished, one made it past 110. And that was enough to completely obliterate the Crazy Cat's Eyes 351. The Thunderbolts set a 408, being the first team in Marblelympics history to break 400. And if that wasn't enough, look what we had right after that. We had the Hazers. 1 has just fallen off right here where I touched, and 3 still on, 2 of them going on to finish. That's 260 points, plus this, plus the one that fell off on the top side. That's another new Marblelympics record with an astounding 438 total, beating the Thunderbolts by 30. And my wager is the Hazers' record of 4:38 is not going to be broken anytime soon. If we see this event coming back, I think 4:38 is going to stay intact for a while. It would take something absolutely extraordinary, very similar to this, in order to break 4:38. In the meantime, some of the other performances in the balancing event, the O'Rangers finally got a little bit more momentum going. They wound up finishing in 9th place, earning 7 points, a little bit better. Oceanics finally squeaked into the top half in 8th. Team Galactic, Mellow Yellow, Green Ducks also in the top half. But those 3 teams that all broke the Marblelympics record were featured on the podium. Crazy Cat's Eyes with 351 in the bronze medal position, Thunderbolts with a 408 in silver, and Hazers with a 438 earning the gold. Some of the other teams that did not do so well in this event, Jungle Jumpers with the lowest score recorded in this event, 154. That gave them 16th place, no points whatsoever. Raspberry Racers coming off a silver in event 2, wound up finishing 14th. Chocolatiers did not very good. They earned, I believe, 172 points in this event. That put them in 15th. So now I'm going to switch over to the overall standings following event number 3. We have Savage Speeders in the lead still, 2 gold in the first 2 events, earning 59 points. Hazers in second, 1 gold, 1 bronze with 52. Green Ducks, Thunderbolts tied at 41. Raspberry Racers in 5th at 33. Team Galactic at 30, Crazy Cat's Eyes at 24, and Mellow Yellow rounding out the top half with 22 points. On the other hand, some surprises in the bottom half. Balls of Chaos and Midnight Wisps tied for 9th place. Both of them were top half teams last year. Midnight Wisps were 2018 champions. Chocolatiers, after getting bronze in event 1, sunk all the way down to 11th. Oceanics and O'Rangers in 13th and 14th, respectively. O'Rangers tied with Jungle Jumpers at 9. Pinky's not that surprising that they are, once again, all the way down in last place with a mere 8 points. So after the first 3 events, some major surprises, in particular O'Rangers, very consistent in past years, having some bad luck early on. We'll see if they can rebound from that. On the other hand, Savage Speeders absolutely dominating events 1 and 2, earning 9 points in event 3. They hold a 7-point lead over the Hazers. Then our rookie team tied in 3rd place. Now that is it for the analytics of the first 3 events. There's one other thing I'm going to do here, and this is, I'm not going to go as bold as early on to try and predict the entire podium, but I am going to give my predictions of who I think is going to win the Marblelympics 2019. And there's one setback in my prediction, the fact that there's going to be 16 events this year rather than only 12, which is good. We get to see more racing and more marbles have a chance later in the game, but it does make it a little bit more difficult to predict because we've never seen it carry that far before. But I am going to take a few notes from the Algalympics, my series on my channel. There's a link for the 2018 Algalympics in the description. Check it out if you want to see the Algae version of the Marblelympics. And the past 3 seasons of the actual Marblelympics. I'm taking the records from those events, applying it to here, and making my prediction of who is going to be the champion. Now, there are 3 types that I like to look at. One is the consistent marbles, not necessarily the biggest medal scorers, similar to the fireballs in the Algalympics, who are very consistent, always stay in the top half, and usually finish the year on a high note. In the case of the fireballs, they wound up winning. And so far, there is one team standing out to me to be almost a mirror image of the fireballs, and that is the Thunderbolts. Appropriately enough, their names are very similar. But after 3 events, the Thunderbolts have gotten 10, 11, and 20 points. Right now in 3rd place. On the other hand, the Fireballs waited until event 4 to earn their silver. But still, a very strong connection of consistency. The Fireballs went on to win by 1 point. I'm not entirely sure if the Thunderbolts can hang on throughout an additional 4 events. But if there was only 12 events, I would put my money on the Thunderbolts for 2019. On the other hand, there are teams like Azure Royals and Savage Speeders in the past. Of course, the Savage Speeders are successful. They've been on the podium all 3 seasons. They got off to a stellar start, and there's just this part of me that thinks that they are going to always remain in that top quarter, I want to say, to maybe finish on the podium again. I don't know about another win like they did back in 2016. We will just have to see. On the other hand, Hazers are a team that rose kind of unexpectedly last year, had great success in the qualifiers in the first few events. Hazers could be like the Savage Speeders. Their unpredictability is their only problem. They've gotten high, they've gotten low on the leaderboard. To me, they are like the Azure Royals. They are not necessarily consistent enough to hold the top spot. My best guess for the Hazers would be second or third. On the other hand, there is one other option. There are teams like Midnight Wisps in the past, like Mintergreens in the Alga Olympics. Almost like, well, no, I don't want to say Oceanics, because they were kind of up there the entire season 2018. But teams that start off weak and then come on strong unexpectedly to finish on the podium. Last year was Midnight Wisps. This year, I have to think it's probably going to be either Crazy Cat's Eyes, Oceanics, or O'Rangers. They've just shown that potential in the past. Crazy Cat's Eyes jumping up into the top half after event 3. I have my eye on the prize. I have my eye on the Crazy Cat's Eyes. O'Rangers, as a fan, I just can never count them out. They're starting poor, but they have improved in the past, pulled off comebacks. Oceanics, they are the hosts. They have the home field advantage. So as far as teams going for maybe a 12-event Marblelympics, I would be watching Savage Speeders, Hazers, Thunderbolts, Crazy Cat's Eyes, Oceanics, and O'Rangers. For a 16-event Marblelympics, that opens a world of new possibilities. I'm still going to keep my eye on the Thunderbolts, the Hazers, maybe the Oceanics, but that opens a whole new door of ambiguity as who can keep it that long or who can make a late charge at the end. So my prediction for a 12-event Marblelympics, Thunderbolts. My prediction for a 16-event Marblelympics, I'm torn between Thunderbolts and Hazers, maybe Crazy Cat's Eyes. I don't see a repeat champion this year, but so far I'm putting my money on the Thunderbolts. So that is it for the first edition of Marble Insider. That's the analytics of the first 3 events of the 2019 Marblelympics. Credit once again to Jelle's Marble Runs. The videos are fantastic. It's so much work goes into this. It is a stadium of 11,340 marbles, I think. And that's just astounding. So, way to go. I will certainly be watching. You can expect the next Marble Insider after Event 6. And this is Professor CC19. If you want to see more videos, please subscribe. And as always, thank you so much for watching.